Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, it's another absolutely gorgeous day just sailing the high seas. Now in yesterday's video I talked about a big update for Dolphin, and I might have been a little bit mistaken. So when I was reading that update I was thinking this really sounds familiar, and the reason it sounds familiar is because it was familiar. I read that update back in September. I clicked on the wrong article to bring up for my news video, and I apologize for that. So first up on the docket, we are talking about Dolphin and we are talking about that blog post. However, it doesn't really have anything to do with emulation. It's titled Starlight Spotlight, a hospital Wii in a new light, and I would recommend giving it a read. It's very well written. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire article. I do recommend checking it out, and if you are interested, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Anyways, here it talks about the Starlight Wii kiosks, and there's a whole lot of detail. There's a teardown and even a lot more information. The Dolphin team has gotten their hands on one. However, and the big however here, or a couple of big howevers. Number one, the games on these Starlight kiosks seem to be just normal games, which I would say is a big win. Secondly here, they don't plan on emulating these kiosks. They say, well, it would be fun to emulate this functionality someday, talking about the Starlight stuff. There are currently no plans to pursue it. Overall though, I'd say there's a lot of really neat functionality in these Starlight kiosks and a lot of really neat works. I do recommend checking out that article. There is a ton of great information in it. And continuing to talk about great information, or possibly not great information, we're gonna have to wait and see on this one. But there are rumors out there already that the Legend of Zelda, the live action film, behind the scenes footage has been surfacing. I can't confirm if this is real or fake. I want to say it's fake, but there's a big chance it's real. Anyways, Insider Gaming has kind of broken this story, and feel free to check that one out as well. So the Instagram account Josh N. Pine has showcased some footage, and I'll link to the footage in the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below as well, and hopefully it stays up. If it gets taken down, I would say that footage is 100% real. If it stays up, then, well, I don't know. I'd be really curious to see if the footage stays up or gets taken down, and that's where I'm saying we're going to have to wait and see if this ends up being real or fake. And based on what I can see here, it kind of looks like a Twilight Princess-ish version of Link and the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom version of Zelda. Could be wrong with that one. I'm very curious to see where this all ends up. And continuing to talk about Nintendo, next up here we're talking about Metroid Prime 4. And some journalists have got their hands on the game and have got to test it out, and the reviews coming in have been extremely mixed. I've seen some very good opinions on it, and I've seen some very bad opinions on it. And it seems as if you're a fan of something like Jar Jar Binks, you might be a fan of this game. If you detest a character like Jar Jar Binks, you may not like this game. I mean, listen to this headline up on VGC. So far, Metroid Prime 4 doesn't feel much like Metroid at all, and I'm worried. As a big Metroid fan, Nintendo's hands-on demo left me cold. They say first impressions can be deceptive, and as a Metroid Prime fan, keenly awaiting the first installment in 18 years. I really hope what I've played so far isn't representative of the final game, because to me, it didn't feel much like Metroid at all. So based on my understanding here, a lot of the tension surrounding this game is in regards to the new sidekick, Miles McKenzie, or as VGC calls him, new bumbling slapstick sidekick, Miles McKenzie, who wisecracked his way through my remaining playtime, stripping away at any trace of atmosphere or tension with his comedic quips and exclamations, even often outright noting when I'd missed important items. That is not very good in my opinion. Now, without Miles McKenzie, the article goes on to say by itself the game is a solid, if not particularly surprising, introduction to a Metroid Prime game. But then it is crucially tanked by the discovery of McKenzie on his downed spaceship. And it does seem that these sidekick characters are going to be a big part of the game. However, and the big however here is if you take a look at Nintendo's recent YouTube video for Metroid Prime 4 and take a look at the comments for that. The comments are the polar opposite. It's a completely different take altogether, and I'm very curious to see what happens with the overall sentiment of this game, with the overall review score of this game, once everybody gets their hands on it. Not just journalists and not just Nintendo fans, but basically everybody. I'm wondering if it's going to be very polarizing with the entire gaming community, or if it's going to be widely loved or widely hated. Let me know your thoughts based on the article and also based on the video in the comments below. Do you think there's going to be a big difference in people who love this game versus people who hate it? Or do you think it's going to be just okay, or do you think it's going to be great? I don't know. And speaking about Nintendo, kinda, next up here we're talking about Pokemon, specifically Pokemon Lazarus. It's a fan game. If you haven't heard about this one, version 1.0 just dropped. And at the time of filming, it's got over 25,000 downloads. This Pokemon fan game for the Game Boy Color seems to be incredibly popular. The game is posted up on Ko-fi. Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce that correctly. Anyways, here they say this is the full release of Pokemon Lazarus, a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald taking place in the brand new Ilios region. Explore an exciting new region based on Greece, meeting new characters and catching over 400 Pokemon, all in the classic GBC style. So based on the screenshots to this game, I would argue, I'm not gonna lie here, I would argue this looks like one of the best Pokemon games I've seen in recent memory. Could be wrong with that, maybe that's a hot take. This is a fan game, it's completely unofficial. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about stuff blowing up in popularity, next up we're not talking about popularity, just talking about stuff blowing up. And we're talking about the Retroid Pocket 5 and a very interesting post up on Reddit. So the title of this one is My Retroid Pocket 5 Blew Up, and the post is up on Reddit SBC Gaming. And they say here, I also posted this in the Retroid subreddit, but wanted to share it wider for others. This could happen to anyone. I was charging my Retroid Pocket 5 as usual and it caught fire. I was sitting right in front of it, and thankfully I had a fire extinguisher nearby to put out the fire. I wanted to send out a warning to other folks, know not to leave them charging unattended. And this is pretty huge. I don't know if this is going to be a one-off or if it's going to be a normal thing for Retroid Pocket 5s. But if you've got a Retroid Pocket 5, I would say maybe pay attention to that battery and maybe not leave it unattended while charging until things are further investigated. Now, taking a look at the comments, and I would say up on Reddit SBC Gaming, they do know what they're talking about in terms of power. There's a lot of people saying that this is using a power adapter that was too strong for the Retroid Pocket 5, which doesn't make much sense to me at all. I mean, the way power adapters work, at least most of them, is they don't push power. The device pulls power from them. So if you've got a power adapter with, I don't know, that can put out something like 200 watts, if you plug in a device that only takes 5 watts, it's not going to pull 200 watts to the device, at least if it's not made properly. And that's the big thing there. It's a very interesting thing overall, and I'm curious to know what the actual cause of the problem was. Was the battery already damaged? Was the device dropped and compromised? I really don't know. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens if more devices are affected and if more reports about this come out over time, or if this is just a one-off. If you've got a Retroid Pocket 5, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below and your concerns or anything like that. I would be curious to see too a Retroid Pocket plugged into a charger where you can actually monitor how many watts it's actually pulling. And speaking about pulling too much power, next up we're talking about PlayStation 4 emulation with Shad PS4. And Shad PS4 just keeps improving in leaps and bounds. They've got a brand new blog post up showcasing one of their videos, and it's titled Bloodborne version 0.12.6 WIP. Huge speed increase. I recommend checking out the video. I mean, it's up on YouTube, and again, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. The game seems to be hitting 60 FPS with ease and running very smoothly. I would say this is a massive win for Shad PS4, but it is worth pointing out this is a development build, a work in progress build, and the full thing hasn't been released just yet, but I assume a big update for Shad PS4 is on the way. And speaking about big wins, next up here we're kind of talking about the exact opposite. We're talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 7. And Call of Duty Black Ops 7 has just released and has some very interesting feedback about it. So first and foremost, there are some complaints about the single player campaign and the fact that it can't be paused. And also there are no checkpoints, which is really interesting overall. I guess the single player campaign requires an online connection at all time. And it doesn't necessarily sound very casual friendly. I mean, if I'm playing a game in single player mode, I expect to be able to pause to get up to go to the washroom or grab a drink or something like that, or to pause and pick up at a later point in time, or to get to a checkpoint to set the game down and do something and come back to it. But I guess that casual element in the game is no longer there. Now, I can completely understand the inability to pause if it's a co-op game online and you're playing with someone to go through the campaign. I mean, that kind of makes sense. And if there's no checkpoints, maybe it's just to increase the difficulty overall and maybe try to increase the immersion. I mean, they say here in Black Ops 7, you can go solo or squad up with up to 3 other players in this innovative co-op campaign that redefines the Black Ops experience. However, in just single-player solo mode, I'd expect the ability to pause the game. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. Maybe that's a hot take. And secondly here, the game has been accused of using a whole lot of Gen AI, and I've seen a lot of posts regarding this, and there's also, I guess, a response to this. So for context here, there's accusations of Activision using Gen AI in Call of Duty for prestige icons, as well as almost every single campaign and endgame calling card, and even more stuff. And Activision's response here is it's kind of a non-answer. So the response is up on Xbox Air, and again, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link below. And I'm talking very quiet because there's a whole lot of people behind me and I'm probably not supposed to be here doing this. Anyways, there's a backstage tour happening for some of the events. Anyways, they say, like so many around the world, and this is from Activision, like so many around the world, we use a variety of digital tools, including AI tools, to empower and support our teams to create the best gaming experiences possible for our players. Our creative process continues to be led by the talented individuals in our studios. That's a real big non-answer. They don't deny using Gen AI in that quote. I mean, let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below, but I would say the creative process continuing to be led by talented individuals is nothing. That could mean Gen AI, it could mean nothing. It realistically is a non-statement altogether. I wouldn't expect the entire process to be led by AI. I would expect parts of it based on what I'm understanding and what I'm seeing here, but again, I could be wrong. That could be a hot take. So overall here, moving forward for me at the very least, I'm expecting pretty much every single AAA game to be using Gen AI in some way, shape, or form. It just seems like a very economical, very convenient route, and too economical and too convenient for them to pass up. But let me know your thoughts. And speaking about controversial stuff and game developers, next up we're talking about Rockstar. And there's a very interesting report that 220 Rockstar North staff have signed a letter demanding their fired colleagues are immediately reinstated. The fired colleagues who were reportedly trying to unionize the employees. However, Rockstar says that they were leaking stuff. So earlier on this month, Rockstar dismissed around 30 of its colleagues for gross misconduct for the alleged leaking of company secrets in a public forum. And a lot of people are saying that that statement is untrue and these employees were trying to unionize the employees at Rockstar. I'm not going to lie here, I'm really curious to see where this situation goes and if it evolves moving forward and if Rockstar does something or if the employees take a bigger stance. Right now, I would say this is a huge stance overall and does have significant momentum. I am very curious to see what happens, and I'm also curious to see if this impacts GTA 6 development at all. Now, it is worth noting this is just for Rockstar North, but if things continue to escalate and more employees jump on the bandwagon here, I'd be very curious to see what the Rockstar executives think about all of it. And if they do get worried that it will impact GTA 6, I mean, if there's more and more people hopping on this thing and it becomes more and more disruptive, that could be huge impacts to the studio overall. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about game studios and executives and interesting stuff, next up we're talking about Ubisoft. And it's being reported that Ubisoft's CEO tells employees that the trading halt of stock is to limit unnecessary speculation. Yes, apparently Ubisoft stock has been halted for trading. So the full statement's up on Insider Gaming, and I would recommend giving everything a read over there. They say, "Hello everyone, I wanted to let you know that we are taking extra time to finalize the closing of the semester, and as a result, we will publish our first half earning results in the coming days instead of tonight. Due to legal regulations, we cannot share more information with you at this time. To limit unnecessary speculation and market volatility during this short delay, we have asked Euronext to suspend the trading of our stock until the results are announced. We know this will likely raise questions and drive media coverage." So realistically, this could be extremely bad or extremely good. In my opinion here, I am very concerned for Ubisoft and their future, given that they are halting stock trading. This could also mean a potential takeover or buyout or something. I really don't know here. I'm just speculating at this point, but I mean, this overall is very weird. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Maybe that's a hot take, me thinking this is weird. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.